Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is my second videos. I'm sure you won't miss me very much. Today will be a very simple job. We have a nice Kadas cable. Actually on the left side, the connector is quite loose. The owner of the cable want me to replace it with a brand new pair of amphenol. I hope I pronounce this correctly. So here's yep. Here is the connectors. Sometimes the connectors might have different coatings, which leading to it being too big or too small for the socket. Let me quickly show you. So like here, it's my Fostec TH610. But if you're wondering why does it have like 3.5 connector, it's because I modified it. And so yeah, if you not sure you can see it, but left side, yeah, can be unplugged very easily. It's not too bad in case of the customer. He has a Hi-Fi Man HE1000 SE, I believe, and it lost connect all the time and create some static noise, which is really annoying. So that's why he sent me his cable for exchange. It also has a lot to do with the tolerance of the socket as well. This one, I don't want to say this better. It's just some really common socket, 3.5 mm socket that you can find on the internet. The ones that hi-fi men use for their headphone is, I would say, notoriously bad. I have a few cases where the socket was getting loosened over time, and I need to change the sockets. For this job, I have my job list here. If you want to do it, it's not really hard at all. It's very simple. To start, is a soldering machine like what I have here is a Hakko 936. It's a fairly simple one, but even this one I consider fancy for this kind of job. But you can even have something as primitive at a soldering hand like this one. Super cheap. I believe that you can find on Amazon for like from $15 to $20. Very easy to find, very easy to purchase online, and it would get the job done. The next important part is solder. Like this one I have. I strongly recommend you use just like normal rosin core wire. What does it mean? Something like 60/40s here on the label. I mean that it is a combination of zincs, and in the center is a rosin to make the solder stick into the surface of the jacks, something like this. Yeah, that is my recommendation at an experienced soldering dude. You want to avoid something no lead inside. You know, some high-end solder they have silver, they have copper, they even have gold inside. Regardless of how it improves the soundings of your system, it is definitely much harder to solder if you use those types of solders. And the next things I would advise you to get is flux or something like this, or something in the tube. You can gradually push it out. It will make your job much easier, especially if you're new to this hobby. And another thing is a soldering hands, something like this, to keep the wires and your connector in place when you're trying to solder them together. It's very important in my opinion. It makes your life much more comfortable. Additionally, you can get an extractor, but I just use a fan. Ideally, you would want to do it somewhere with an open window, so you can blow on the smoke coming out of your soldering job. But since we only do it really quick and have some minimum exposure with the solder and the rosin and the flux, so a fan should do. An extractor is fine, but I think like on commercial ones, they don't do a really good job. They are bulky, they loud, and they don't really suck a lot of air. That's basically all the thing that we need. Now we just get to do the job. It will be a fairly simple one. So like this one, cut them off. See, you try to, I recommend you try to cut it as close as possible to the headphone jack. So to save some of the wire, because some of the cable, they might be already quite short, maybe 1.2 meter. So if you cut it too generously, it can make your cable too short for your usage. So try to cut it really close, like this. Just cut it like this as well. Because the owner, you want to keep these, so we just put them back into one of the pouch and put them somewhere else. Because Karas had already color coded their left and right sides, so you don't need to worry too much about this. But in other case, when all of the cables made out of the similar materials and similar colors, you would want to mark them. But in this case, we already have black and white. Black means left side and red is right side. It's like norm in the industry. And so what we do next is we would want to cut it a bit when it comes to it. So if you can buy in this case, a nail clipper can work as well. I have something like this. I believe that's also a nail clipper, but it's fairly small and it can have you cut into the, essentially this is string tube and you can cut them. You want to get the wire inside, you can cut them like this. And they already color coded inside already for those. I think that in our case, this doesn't really matter because you will need to measure the connectivity using a multimeter anyway. It doesn't matter, but it would be really nice when they do it because they use 4 different color. They connect everything. In this case, the 4-pin XLR connector. It make everything much simpler when you try to solder it at the beginning. But here we need to measure them again. Now just get so this one is a wire stripper. You can use them or you can use the nail clipper that I used before, or use a scissor. Just need to do it carefully and it should be okay. Hopefully you can see the copper inside. The customer also want to see this, so I'm also take a picture of this and send it to him. This one, everything is nice and clean. One done. Another reason why I want you to cut it as close as possible to the original connector is because sometimes you aren't used to with stripping the wire yet, you might actually cut it. And if you keep doing by bit like that, it would shorten the cable significantly. So trying to buy you some insurance. So the next part is actually you want to get the shrink tube in place right now, because a lot of time when I first doing this hobby, I just keep forgetting to put the shrink tube inside. This one is actually quite large, so it's not really a big problem. However, there's a lot of case when shrink tube is really small and it barely cover this connector. And if you don't put them beforehand, then you just cannot put them in at all. You need to desolder joints and take everything apart and then put them on top. It's a mess job. So what I recommend you to do is you're doing it right now. And one tip for you is, if you see in this case the shrink tube doesn't fit the connector, it's too small. You can try to squeeze in, but it will not go very far. You can actually enlarge it using a small plier like this. Expand everything a bit, not too much. Maybe both sides. I think it should work. Okay, perfect. So now what we do is we put them in first. Make sure everything in place before you solder. Trust me, you don't want to desolder it. It might take you 1 hour to put everything together, but it can take you 2 hours to take everything apart and put everything back together. And it's very demoralizing. So this going first. Actually, in this case, you can do it in reverse, but I would like you to get used to with the sequence so you don't mess it up in future. You just put the string tube first, and then put the wire into the cover of the cable, cover of the connector. Make sure everything is nice and tidy here. And this as well. And this with second. Yep. Sometimes it's very stiff. Gentle. primer part should be good to go. Yep. Test. Yep. Going. One good. Something like this. One good. So now you might wondering when do we get into the soldering part? Almost not yet. Now we use the multimeter. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to give you a easier way, the most correct way when it comes to soldering, in my opinion, to minimize the time you have to sit on this table and try soldering one simple job like this. So now you want to measure where go where. So for example, so we have an 4-pin XLR. I will put on the screen the schematic of it, so you will know where is where. So I'm not sure I can show you this, but let's see. So I zoom in so you can see the number. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, and this number is meaning. What do we do first? So you want to measure one to the left, one to the right. This normally this one should be for hi-fi main headphones 3.5 connectors. This one will be the left plus, and this one will be the minus. So the tip ring sleeve, the tip will be here for the plus, and the sleeve for the minus. So we will only use these two parts, these and these. Quickly give them a bit of solder here. But this I want to measure. So the red cable will go to the left to the tips, and the black will go to sleeve. That is the correct order. We also want to thin the wire. Bring it into focus a bit more. The wire have trouble accepting the solder. Now is when the flux come in handy. You just need a bit of them. Look like a charm. Yep, perfect. You don't need too much solder. Oh, they put some of the enamel around each strand. So sometimes it makes harder for you to thin your wire. You can always use flux and it will solve the problem really easily. And before you solder here, you should also give them some flux as well. Some flux here. Yep. A little bit is more than enough. Then quickly ram them. Sometimes it's not enough, but you can just leave it there. Add the solder into the tips. This. Some more flux in. Use this, or in case if you haven't, you just have the plier. You can use your plier as well, but I have really small, I don't know what it's called, but anyway, just use it and gently press it down. It's done. A lot of the already resistor there should be good. Make sure the flux flows evenly around the area. And if you don't have a soldering hand, this job is almost impossible to do. Would be, well, you can technically do it, but it will be incredibly finicky because these things are not very small, but they tend to go in the direction that you want them. And we have it. Everything is good. Something like that should do, but you might only see some of the wire is exposed, some of the copper inside is exposed, and you want to cover them with something because otherwise they can touch in the metal part of the sleeve. It would create a short, and you don't want that. So in this case, actually, we can do, yeah, we can just some tape. I think should work. Oh, should do. So here, now what do we have? So we could add a bit of tape. Any tape is fine, but I personally want to use the paper tape. Why? I guess because the paper, that if there's any humidity inside the joint, can serve as a dehumidifier. But then any tape should work as long as they separate the wire with the other metal part inside a connector. So we got this one done, and now we just want to check the connectivity, make sure nothing is short. You can do it very simple. In this case, the only worry we have is maybe the tip and the sleeve can touch, so they can be shorted. I just want to measure them. If there's no beeping, there's no connectivity, and we're good to go. Yep. We want to make sure that it's going through. Checking with the XLR connector. Here's nothing happened. Yes. Yep. All good. So with this, just close it up here. Put everything down. This. I just quickly turn off the fan because I need the lighter to shrink the tube around. and turn on the lighter. If you have heat gun, it works, but if you don't, it's fine. Once done, and the other will be exactly the same, so I will not bother you with only the lengthy. We'll just put the result in the end. Okay, it's all done. So this is a cable. I finished doing everything. Yeah, so they basically look exactly as they was. So here's the original and here's the replacement. I did a test and everything is okay. Oh, and remember, always test. Doesn't matter how sure you are about your skill. At least in my case, if you look at the soldering joints and you feel really confident that you did everything perfectly, but still always check. Not just look at the product, but plug them into the headphone that you have at hand, ideally, and test them. Or at least use a multimeter to check the connectivity, make sure nothing is short. There's nothing worse than sending this out to your customer and then you need to get back and fix them again. It's very lame, and it will cost you money as well because obviously you need to take the shipping fees. You have to return the money to the customer. If you do it for yourself, then again, please check, because otherwise, once you seal everything nicely like this, and you have to take everything apart, it would be very demoralizing, and no one wants to do that. Trust me, I've been there. Thank you for watching these videos. Yeah, bye bye.